I finally got to read the entire issues of Static Season 1, and I loved it. What's up, YouTubers of the world? MegaGeekMixer here to give you guys my review on Static Season 1 Milestone Comics Return. I should have said that in reverse, but you guys get my drift and everything on that. All's the same though. I finally took my chance to finally read this after so long. I know this was out back in 2021 and never got a chance to get into it until now, but hey, better late than never, huh guys? All's the same though. What can I say about this book? I got a lot to say. First off, let's get in the overall story arc of this and about the people behind the scenes who worked on this. Yes, you got the writer, Ayala. I hope I said that last name right. Probably butchered it, and I apologize. But Vita, Crisscross, and Nicholas Draper-Ivey, these guys did amazing. The art, the story, the panel structures of it and everything, it was unbelievable. And not to mention, what I also like about this, the story in this is that with these guys behind the scenes, these guys truly show they are fans of Static. They did their research from no doubt the original comics, which unfortunately I never got a chance to get into it, so I don't know much about it on the comic side, but I did watch the Static Shock series, and yes, it was a favorite of mine. So yeah, no doubt they looked at it from both the original source material from Milestone's first Static Comics to the Static Shock TV series and put a mixture of their own ideas in there to really bring their comic here to life here. And I really did like what they did here. Sure, it has some real life influence in there, such as the Black Lives Matter thing and everything. And yeah, I know that when this first came out, there were some people out there that were against that. They didn't like how they changed up the origin to revolve to have the Black Lives Matter in it. I can't say I know why. I don't I know why. All I just know is for me, I was like, okay, switching up on the origin a bit. That's fine. All's the same. As you kept reading through it, everything else was solid and stuff. Sure, maybe that real life's influence didn't need to be in there. Maybe because just during the time, it was the wrong time to put it in there. But for me, all's the same. It didn't really bother me. All I was just like, so they're changing up the origin a little bit. But despite changing up the origin a little bit, it still delves into the things that made Static Shock famous for what it thinks. Gang violence, sometimes police violence, bullying, racism, rivalries and stuff. And yeah, as long as it can have some of that stuff that made Static Shock what it was, then I'm all okay with that. Because really, the story deals with that from Virgil, from his journey to being a hero to being Static, and it really shows a community coming together when it comes to authorities doing wrong to the citizens of a community. I love that, and this is what this book was all about. Virgil's journey, standing up to authorities who abuse the community, and so much more. Even Virgil has some great speeches in this one that really influenced back to reference to some things that I saw in the cartoon series and what made him here to begin with. Now, having said all that, excuse me, it's time to really get into it. So, like I said with the origin, guys, the origin goes off a little different. Like in the cartoon series, it dealt with a gang war going on, and the police went in there to stop it using a gas that was experimental. That's what eventually caused the whole people of Dakota community to get powers, aka bang baby powers, and what they would call that gas incident the Big Bang. Well, in this one, it's a little different. In this one, Virgil instead was part of a peaceful protest that was for Black Lives Matter due to police officers doing wrong by some black people within the community. And that right there, I can understand why people were getting a little upset with that. But me, I was like, yeah, I'm not exactly fond of it, but I can look past it because in the end, it's still delve into the right realms of what made the Big Bang happen. Something goes on, police try to stop it. They use They use a gas to try to stop it, and this is what causes a big bang. Although the only thing to note is this peaceful protest turned into a riot due to Virgil Hawkins and Hot Streak, aka France, his real name, who have a rivalry with each other, and France, he's a bully. Virgil was sticking up to him for what he was doing to his friends. This is what caused the whole riot to begin with at the protest, that it caused the police to get involved. That made the Bang Baby, the whole Big Bang Theory happen. And yeah, that's basically how Virgil got his powers. And yeah, like how it was in the TV series, like I said, I don't know much about the comic series and know if that's Virgil's journey to how he became a superhero as well. But at the beginning, he was a little scared because when he did use his powers the first time to stand up against Frank after him and Frank went back after the whole incident happened, he felt like it was changing him when he attacked Frank. Now, mind you, he didn't kill Frank. He just went into a violent rage that he feels like his powers might be changing him, which is kind of what they delve into in the first episode after the origin episode in Static Shock, where how he wanted to make sure he was okay and everything and that nothing was changing him. While in this one, it's more in the fact that Virgil was scared and that he couldn't tell his family or his friends, but eventually they find out. His family find out due to Hot Streak calling him out while he's at his house. His house, for crying out loud. What's wrong with that guy? I mean, come on. I mean, I understand you're a villain and everything, but come on. Were you even thinking? But of course not. He's Hot Streak for a reason. He wasn't thinking. He was just being a hothead. But nonetheless, this is how Virgil's family finds out about his powers. And now in the cartoon series, yes, he has his father and his sister, but he doesn't have his mother, which was one of the major factors for him in the show. While in this comic series, his mother's alive and knows about the powers and everything, just like the whole family did after the whole Hot Streak versus Virgil in the neighborhood. Now, sure, his family does get a little scared at first, but eventually he and his family work things out, especially after Virgil finally comes to grips with how to use his powers and work things out with his friends and family. Because at first, he pretty much distances all of them, but after coming to grips with it and eventually seeing what's going on that makes him start to become a hero, it causes him to make his suit and become a hero and make his first mission, which, hey, we'll get into here later. But we gotta get into what is it that makes Virgil start to become a hero. That's in the part that after the Big Bang happened, basically the authorities put out false information out there and making the the Bang Babies, the ones with powers, be the villains here. Like they're out there causing trouble, they're dangerous, and they're haunting people, from the cops and the army, haunting anybody who may have Bang Baby powers. And eventually they get help in the form of Hot Streak, who after facing Virgil at his house and escaping, he is captured by them, but he makes a deal with them to where he works with them to expose some Bang Babies that he knows about. Oh, yes, even some of which is one, Daisy. You guys remember Daisy from the Static Shock series? She was one of Virgil's friends, one of the ones he had a crush on, along with also the fact that you have Richie and Frida as well, who are his friends who know about his powers, whereas Daisy doesn't know about Virgil having powers or being static. All the same though, difference is in the TV series, Daisy didn't have powers. She was just a normal girl, wherein here, she does have powers. And she eventually confesses it to another of Virgil's friends, Darius, who is a streamer trying to get a job in journalism, and he is against what these authorities are doing, that he pretty much spreads it out there. And it's through that Virgil comes to see, along with Hot Streak, making the army come to his school, take Daisy, and then come to the house to try to take him, but he's able to avoid that. that he decides he needs to be a hero. But before doing that, he got a little help in getting some equipment and a suit. And that was through one of the Milestone heroes, that being Hardware. Yes, guys, Hardware, aka his real name, Curtis Metcalf, what was in contact with Virgil. Now he doesn't, I don't think he necessarily knows that Virgil has powers, but he did know Virgil was in trouble. And this was during the time he was still coming to grips with his powers, that he gave him one of his secret locations that had equipment for his superhero identity. And that is where he actually was being chased by the army at first, but escaped with the suit that he started to use. It was that suit, which is this first suit right here, that he was using until eventually he decided, it's time to make some modification so I can go save these bang babies who are being kidnapped, some of whom, or if not most, are innocent, and what the government's doing to them is wrong. This is what Virgil's journey is all about, seeing how it's bringing in the fact that you got authority figures abusing a community, and someone needs to stand up to them. Not just a community, but the thing is, a community needs a light, and Virgil comes to a beginning spot where he might be that person that can help a community stand together to stand up to the authorities trying to make this city of Dakota out to be bad people, which isn't true. It actually is also a reminder of Black Lightning and Freeland, because gang violence there and stuff and like that. All's the same though. Eventually, when he does make modifications to his suit, you have his sister there who helps him out by giving him his coat. And this eventually leads him into his first mission with the help of his friends, Richie, Frida, and Darius, working with him to go and rescue the bang babies in a warehouse where they're being experimented on. Now, this is where it leads into him eventually going up against Hot Streak again, and it leads into so many awesome panel arts here of the actions between those two, especially Virgil as Static. I see that art and I'm like, Crisscross, you do amazing work here, man. It's awesome. And that's just not with Hot Streak's panel. It's when he later on rescues Bang Babies, and some of them are actually working with the government. One government we know of is Agent Jones. He actually is able to convince some of these Bang Babies to work for him in the by what's that word I'm looking for? Oh, yeah, by convincing them through money and immunity. Yes, he uses money and immunity to get some of these bang babies who, yes, as you're looking at this picture here, it shows that we know who these people are. Especially if you guys have ever watched the TV series, you know who some of these guys are. I'm not going to list them all off, but if you haven't seen the TV series, please do, and you'll know who some of these people are. All's the same is these bang babies were convinced as through money and immunity, but not only that, it's in because of how the government manipulated them into how they make people out there look at those people in the community of Dakota, and that's what really got to him. But it's because of that Virgil comes into what makes him a hero as Static to begin with. Sure, he fights them all for a minute, but then he eventually gets them to realize that you guys cannot just be bullied into working with them just because they think you're weak and they think you're these monsters or everything like that. You gotta show them that they're wrong, and that you guys are much better than what they're making you out to be. And yeah, that's a great speech. And yeah, it eventually gets them to at least turn their back on him and temporarily work with Virgil with Static. I say Virgil and Static. I'm just so used to calling them both ways, so excuse me if I'm saying both at the same time. All's the same though. It gets them to work with them for right then and there. But since some of these bang babies were bad guys and stuff, they'll go back to it later on in the future comics down the line. Other than that though, it was still great because this really showed the journey of what makes Virgil and aka Static, who he is. He doesn't just fight these bang babies just to put them in prison and stuff. For some of them, he actually tries to genuinely help them by realizing what they might be going through or have an understanding of what they go through. One such example, I'm going to go off topic here and go into the show for a minute, is a favorite of mine, is when he helped out that little girl with the ice powers. I think they called her, I forget what they called her name with her powers, but her name was Marine. And it was during a Christmas special episode where, after learning about her losing her mother and all she went through, he was able to help her by making her know he knows what that's like since he lost his mom in the series. This stuff is what makes superheroes so great. They're not out there just beating bad guys, they also find a way to help. That's what true superheroism is. And eventually, yes, they do eventually accomplish the mission. Static accomplishes his mission of defeating of rescuing everyone and eventually allowing them all to escape. But must I say, you gotta see this picture here. You see the lighting effects on this panel here of Static when he tries to use his powers to overload the warehouse here. And this isn't the only one. There are other panels that have something like this. But let me just say, the artwork Crisscross does here with the electricity and how he makes the lighting for it and the coloring for it, which is done by Nicholas. Dude, that is just some awesome stuff. I was like, whoa, this is crazy art. I just love this. Yeah, guys, the story, the art. This book made it just so great for those things alone. But not only that, it was the ending, and wherein the fact that government, once again, after a few days after the whole incident on the warehouse, government tried to make it look like it was the Bang Babies again. But no, here comes Static doing another hero speech. This time in the term of anger and how, like, these people are trying to make you believe that if you lash out with anger, it's going to be negative. But he counters it in saying that anger is okay. You just need to know how to harness it and use it in a positive way to show that, sure, you're angry, but you're not doing it in a way that it looks like it's violent. You're doing it in a way where it can bring a positive effect and bring a community together to try to make you see that what these people are saying about you is wrong. And that's exactly how it is out there in the real world. And yeah, sorry I'm bringing it up that a real world comes in this, but that's kind of how it happens here in the comics. Some of this stuff is based off of that. And the thing about Static is it's been dealing with gang violence, racism, and other stuff like that. And this series pretty much fits it all. This is what I love about this series, is how it brings in Virgil's journey as Static and what made him Static to begin with. Yes, you got his, and then yeah, you have his family there that know his identity and fully supports it, especially after he accomplishes his first mission that he decides, I'm gonna be a full-on superhero, and he's got the support of his family and his friends behind him, which is good, because now he actually has his own calling alert to superhero duty, like Batman and Superman, which is pretty much that Darius guy I mentioned having a streaming service that can alert him to things and a hotline. But while all that is there, a behind the scenes thing that happened in the season one that no doubt is going to go into season two, and that's in the fact that his arch nemesis Ebon showed up to this Agent Jones that I mentioned earlier and has captured him because he's looking for his brother, that being Rubber Band Man. And that right there, guys, that pretty much right there is the volume of Static Season 1. All the things I mentioned to you guys, I'm not lying. It was great stuff. I loved what we had here. And all I can say is, for the guys in charge of the writing, I hope those guys are doing it in Season 2 and that we keep getting some good stuff here. But either way, guys, that's all I'll have for today. And hey, if you enjoy my videos, all you gotta do is click that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon to be notified when I make more videos. And until then, MegaGeekMixer signing out. Bye!